Hello everyone and welcome to Answer the Call. Today's topic is kind of timely, I think, with the most recent Star Citizen Live and along with Citizencon a little while back. Sorry, I'm having struggling speaking today, I guess, all of a sudden. But it is Theaters of War a waste of time? Now, I want to start out because I know a lot of people are going to look at the title or the thumbnail on the YouTube channel and immediately make comments based on that, or assuming that I'm just being salty again and saying that it is a waste of time. And the title comes from not necessarily my opinion about Theaters of War, but more from just my history with Star Citizen as a whole, right? I started out in the hangar days and played Arena Commander, played Star Marine. I actually was lucky enough to debut Star Marine at the anniversary live stream in LA. And it was a lot of fun. And both of those games had tons of potential and were great. Now, what ended up happening was the PU came out and people really, the most of the funding of Squadron 42 and Star Citizen comes out of the excitement of the PU. And people stopped playing Arena Commander and stopped playing Star Marine because they want an MMO-like experience. I think a lot of people still do enjoy those games, but the player base is dwarfed in comparison to what it used to be, right? And what's kind of happened is both of those game modes have gotten just left to the side. And what did we get out of those game modes? A flight model that still needs a lot of work, and an FPS experience that just isn't up to par with most FPS experiences that we have. It's one of the lower quality FPS experiences of games that I've played. And maybe I'm getting spoiled by a game like Escape from Tarkov, which I've played a lot recently, but I think that's the kind of standard that we hold Star Citizen to. At least I hold Star Citizen to, is a higher standard than most of the games that we play. But I do understand that the game is still in progress and that a Theaters of War type game mode is necessary. So the idea behind it is obviously to have the Star Citizen combat experience repeatable, to do it over and over and over again and learn from those experiences and see realistic, actual, usable feedback. Because the problem with a lot of what we have of Star Citizen now is it's coming from feedback from players who are still living in the past about the flight model and not living in the present, or a very small sample size of people giving feedback. And the intention of Theaters of War is to change that. Now, looking at the history of things, Star Marine is left alone and is a terrible experience. Arena Commander is barely used, and we don't have a good flight model experience. I mean, the selling point of Arena Commander was that what we get out of this is the flight combat experience for the PU. We still don't have it, right? So I'm hearing a lot of the same things being said about Theaters of War that were said about Star Marine and Arena Commander. And what's going to be different about it this time? And that's why I'm posing the question. Is it a waste of time? We also have this saving grace, right? That it's not a game that's being really heavily focused on by Chris Roberts or anyone else other than Sean Tracy. And Sean Tracy is the kind of saving grace in this aspect here, is that I trust him. And I trust the things that he says aren't marketing speak, which I feel like we get a lot nowadays from all of the video content coming out of Star Citizen is it's more to create certain expectations from us. And a lot of the time the game doesn't deliver on those expectations. And the thing that Sean said at Citizencon and continues to say is that fun is the point of this. It's not about the visuals. And that's one of the things that excites me about this. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see what comes out of it. But that's kind of the saving grace here. And I think that there's two sides to this subject, right? I think people can absolutely see it as a waste of time because of their past experiences. And I think a lot of people, including myself, see the necessity for it. And we'll never know if it's a waste of time until the future. But the discussion for it is kind of an interesting one to have, and I'm interested in having it. So with that said, we're going to bring in one of our first callers and a very regular contributor to the show, Henrik. So let me bring him down here. Henrik, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
So what are your thoughts right now? Do you think it's a waste of time, or do you see a point to it?
That really depends on how they are going to implement it, because and I don't think that it is because primarily I don't think it is because they need some way to balance FPS, first person shooting, and the the vehicle fighting.
So then why are they doing it?
I see that as a test bed, but yes, they have said Star Marine was a test bed for FPS, and Arena Commander was a test bed for for ships, and I see this as a mix of these two from there.
And I mean, they always told us that they were going to do this too. Remember the capture the Idris mode? I think that's what that kind of morphed into, was this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you with that one. I also think it's a part of this. And also, when they need to search for these boxes, that maybe just occurs when you have ships and FPS fighting each other. You really need some game mode like this to find them, to get through the lines of code you need to search through.
Maybe this is just coming from like PTSD about Star Citizen and the amount of bugs that are in it. But do you really think that the intention for this is to fix bugs? Or do you think that the intention for this is to gather feedback, not about bugs and how to fix them, but to gather feedback on the experience of the game and make it fun? Because that's what I hear, is that it's not about fixing bugs. It's not about polishing art. It's about gathering feedback.
I think a bit of both. You can see the desync easier on these kind of modes.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I also think it's to give us something fun for the future.
Yeah.
And for now. But one thing I really hope they are doing for this game mode is not release it for 3.9, but release it only to PTU in the PTU and gather the feedback they needs, at least for 3.9, and maybe in 4.0 or later they put the it in the PU. Start with only have it in the PTU brands.
Okay, I'll ask a follow up to that. So the way I gather, like what I gather you're saying here is just leave it on the PTU. The state of it doesn't necessarily matter. But
yeah,
what do you think about this? Where what I mentioned before is that it's very clear that there's obviously going to be issues with Theaters of War. They've already mentioned that there will be Theaters of War issues. But the idea of it is that there were a lot of issues with Arena Commander and there were a lot of issues with Star Marine, and that's what pushed people away from it. Is that people didn't play it because it wasn't a good experience, not necessarily because the feel of it wasn't good, which it in my opinion neither game has a good feel right now, but it was more because the actual it just didn't work. And that especially for Star Marine.
Yeah, and that is why I say leave it in the PTU until you're fixing, so it's not that buggy for this game.
What I was getting at was more, why not just hold it off and until you get it in a good because the thing about this is you don't need 50 players in a server. It isn't this giant map that Star Citizen is that can't be tested pretty extensively by a smaller group, right? The whole reason about Evocati and then pushing it to wave 1 and then pushing it to a bigger wave is to get all this feedback on bugs and issues and the feel of the game. But Star Citizen is so big, it's impossible to test in studio, right? But I feel like Theaters of War could be tested in studio fairly much easier than Star Citizen would. So like all I'm saying and trying to have a little back and forth with you about is just throwing it out there may not be the best thing for Theaters of War, because you need to have it hit the ground running and people enjoy it. Otherwise, the purpose of it is all for naught. Because the second people stop playing it, they're not going to come back to it. It's different than Star Citizen.
I can follow you on that, but
yeah,
I also think if you only have it in the PU, people who doesn't play that often, and probably is some of the majority of who's play Star Citizen or those play game modes sometimes, I think they wouldn't see it until they get into the PU, and then they will think it is fun, because all us others who was playing it in the PTU help with fixing those bugs and and also balance the weapon from ground vehicle, the ships and FPS weapons. So we don't. Then I think you will see a lot better balancing of the weapon.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really any balancing right now for FPS weapons, but the one concern that I have is with the PU, what they can do and what brings people back is they do these like really beautiful big things that draws people's attention, and then they come back and then they realize that the game is not so bad, right? But with Theaters of War, Arena Commander, and Star Marine, the game's scope are so small in comparison that they can't do any of these big, amazing things to blow your mind. Theaters of War might be able to do some things, like they mentioned Idris and Javelin. They're saying these buzzwords, but I don't know.
When I played it at Citizencon, it blew my mind when I get into it.
Cool.
I also didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I was sitting down in a chair, like, do you want this new game mode for Star Citizen? Yes. And then I got into this room and take this chair, and I got into the Star Marine match, and I didn't know what to do, but I figured it out quite fast. But
so that's really interesting. I should have. I guess I'll pose this question to if any of the callers are actually listening to the show now. Right off the bat, let me know if you actually went to Citizencon and tried it. What was your overall, and we'll kind of leave the call there and after this, but what was your overall experience of it? I mean, you obviously sound positive and about the thing overall.
It was, but I also think it was because it was running on a local server at Citizencon, so I didn't experience a lot of desync or some of the other issues we might experience in the Star Marine right now or Arena Commander.
Yeah.
And also because I was hyped because I was at Citizencon, the aroma or
the aura.
The aura, yes, of being there helped me hyping it up.
Okay. And did you say it was 5 out of 5 would play again?
I don't think I take the survey. I can't remember it, but I think I would have said 5 out of 5.
Okay. Cool. Well, all right, Hendrik. I guess we'll leave it there and go on to the next caller. But thank you for your input on it, and that was good.
No problem.
Yeah, man.
See you.
Talk to you soon. All right. So our next caller is Bad Words. There we go. Hey, there was a little delay on that, so it had me worried. Bad Words, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing?
just quick. And somebody also mentioned this in Twitch chat when we were watching. I don't know if this is relevant. Yeah, did you go to Citizencon? Did you try it? And what are your FPS game experiences? Like, are you an FPS gamer or not? I don't know how much of that is relevant to this because it's combined arms, but have you played Battlefield maybe?
Well, I think PlanetSide would probably be the best thing where you're talking about server grade, server level, massive, combat. But I mean, Battlefield, Call of Duty, all the norms.
Yeah.
But again, I think like you're saying, Arena Commander was a test bed, Star Marine was a test bed. This is if they treat it like a test bed. The problem with what always gets me interested with especially Arena Commander. Arena Commander was a test bed because they removed the server issues. Remember when you get an Arena Commander, it was always 60 FPS. It was like the perfect game, and then you play the same game, you get a PTU, and your ship's like, well, someone puts like bumper stickers on it or something, But you could really tell that they had this is how it will work. So let's balance it based on this, and then they would take that, throw it into PTU, add all that server lag, and it fell apart. You can have a Saber, like a real Saber dogfight on Arena Commander that you can't have on PTU, because PTU you'll have the you'll run into the speed issue where it'll start to lose, where things go invincible at a certain speed. So, and in Star Marine, remember, Star Marine was where they were introducing some of those extra animations, like the climb up mechanics and stuff. So, I think that there was a testbed purpose of it. I think the problem is they underestimate the player. When players buy this game, they underestimate how many of these players are spending that money as volunteers to test versus, okay, I have a game, let's do this. You're saying this is a competitive mode, I'm competing, know. And
the thing about the PU is it's beautiful, it's big, it's a totally unique experience from a lot of other games. So you can quote unquote enjoy that while still providing feedback on that experience. But when it comes to like games like Arena Commander and Star Marine, it's a lot more difficult to enjoy yourself while being that volunteer tester.
Yeah, well, I think it's the idea of the testing for a reward versus calling it a competition. It's not a competition because you can't have a test bed and balance it to a competition at exactly the same time. I think their mistake was, and also they undersell Arena Commander. I don't know how many people, you'd be surprised how many people don't even know there's a PvE horde mode in Arena Commander. They just think it's purely dogfighting against players. And they've never really I think a lot of people, when they started adding, when they added that little promo about the Pirate Day thing, and then they're like, oh, well, they're pirates to fight there, and everyone's like, really? They're giving, it's like, it's like, that's the first time anyone ever heard their NPCs in this mission in Arena Commander.
Because I think in the last year or two, most people backed based on what they saw about the PU, rather than where I came from, where it was a hangar module, and then we were looking forward to the Arena Commander module. Back then they still had modules that you paid $5 for. It was different, It was a different time. So people only really know about the PU. They don't click on the other buttons.
Also, the other thing is, I think CIG needs to. I don't think they need to separate out that you have the Kickstarters, and then you have the 3.0ers, and the 3.0ers massively outpopulate the Kickstarters. So you have a lot. The grand majority of backers right now, this game is only 2 years old.
Yeah. Okay, Kickstarters, instead of saying okay, Boomer.
Yeah, and so the Kickstarter's in there, it's like, you weren't here for this, you weren't here for that, and they're like, we don't care. The game is fine as it is. That's where I think you're getting a lot of, just wait for them to get done. They haven't sat there for the extra 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You ask the 3.0 person in 2025, they'll sit there and be as salty as us.
It's true. That's a really good point. And the big thing is they haven't heard, they're hearing this I don't know any other way to say it other than like propaganda about Theaters of War and how it's going to be so great, is they haven't heard it twice already like we have. So it's that's where I'm coming from here. It's like, is this going to be the same situation? I hope not.
But I think I do think I have a lot of faith in 3. But also the other reason why you need a Theater of War and you need Arena Commander and Star Marine is in a PTU sandbox PvE is predator prey. It's always about people are going to avoid PvP until they absolutely can't be destroyed. Like it's a no-win scenario. It's like unless they have no way they can lose. You need an optimized combat system in order to test everything, where everyone's like, okay, you bring your best in here. Everyone's at their best. Now play it out. That's why you need these kind of systems, because otherwise it's going to be a numbers game. It's going to be, if you left it to the PTU, it's going to be, okay, us 10 of us against one person.
Exactly.
And then they'll say it's balanced,
Yeah, and that's been the problem with Arena Commander and Star Marine and balancing in the PU, is it's just, there's no way they could make it a good experience for us based off the type of feedback that they're getting. Because they're either hearing it from the Arena Commander, pilots, like those veterans, which I want to have some sort of negative connotation for them, because I don't think that their comments necessarily are as good as they may think that they are for the situation that we're in now.
I would disagree a little bit. I would say one of the problems with combat in general, especially with Arena Commander in particular, is everything is based on the 4K dogfighting range. Every ship, everything, no matter what, all ships aren't designed to work in that. We have stealth bombers that are supposed to come and deal with 4K range the same as a Hornet. I think a target assist. Sounds like a great long range thing, but everything is in short range combat. I would say that one of those things, they haven't added more ranges to ships. There is no 2K ship, 4K ship, or 12K ship. Everything starts and ends at 4K.
Yeah.
Torpedo boats, everything. And until they put those ranges, aim assist, I think, has a place, but I think it looks bad because it doesn't fit in the same range in 4K doesn't fit versus just being able to aim and stuff. And I think they need to expand that range. I'm hoping Theater of War is the place where you start seeing them say, okay, this ship needs to be a long range ship. This range ship is a dogfighter,
Yeah, and I think that they're currently just focused on dogfighting, because that's what we hear them talk about the most, is slowing the speeds down, bringing it closer together. Like Todd Pappy said, I don't want it to be a pixel hunter, because that's sort of what you're describing as more of a longer range shooting. So you are kind of just firing at some smaller pixels that are heavily lotted, like really far away. They want us to be within 100, 200, 300 meters of each other, moving a little bit slower and hopefully having your actual aim be a factor here. But only time will tell with that stuff. And is Theaters of War the best test bed to try that out in? Probably.
Right now, I think it's the only test bed they could think of that works for this.
That might work. Yeah.
Yeah, but also I think the rewards for these formats are the problem. Doing this, let's say the top 3 people, 1,000 people play. We're gonna shout out the top 3.
Yeah.
Doesn't work in inviting people back in. I say, I know what's in their power. They do, now that they've added this art and stuff for the subscribers and stuff. How hard would it be to have the monthly knife or the monthly one, like little pizzazz or T-shirt or something for X amount of play to get a regular group of audience in there to play these things, so you have a constantly populated test bed.
Here's the thing about that, bad words. Whether it's hard or not doesn't matter, because here's how this game becomes successful, and I think you hammer on a point that I wish I said in my intro and I didn't, is that it needs to be it needs to drop as a game with things to progress towards, right? Like reasons to play other than the testing. It, like, and what I like about what you're saying is, why not take things that people pay for with subscriber money and say you can spend your Arena Commander point or your whatever, your Theaters of War points on those items, and you can bring those subscriber items into your game mode or whatever, right? So now you're running around with gold armor. Look at this guy. Oh, he's good. He's got gold armor. Or even
have it where some guns have the AUEC and maybe have the Star Citizen, the Arena Commander or the game those currencies a little bit on the bottom for like the special version of it, the special color or something, something that says, okay, you do that, you're not going to get much there, but cosmetically your ship's going to be look a lot better. Or again, there are plenty of small incentives they could do, but I think incentivizing versus saying this is a competition when it clearly isn't. They don't have enough there to call it a competition. Would bring these games in line, would make everything. You're not taking away from PTU because PTU is only 550 players. Yeah. There's waited and queues for PTU. There's plenty of people that can go into these other mechanics.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure, and that's why I think this is such a cool topic. I think this is such a cool thing that they're bringing in, and I think it's such a cool time for Star Citizen. Is what's gonna come of this? Is it gonna be another Arena Commander or Star Marine, or is this gonna be the thing that finally pushes a little bit of fun forward?
One thing I really do hope that they're using the theater to really do test the back end. I honestly think it's a good opportunity to see seamless things. Like, I hope they would do mini server meshing in Arena Theater of War. That's the perfect place where if the person can't perceive the problem, then your problems aren't there as bad as when you go macro on things. And I'm hoping that they are really treating this as a proper test bed for things, because again, server meshing's late. Server side should have been on the Arena Commander or Star Marine. Those weren't done. That was completely drawn into the PTU. They have a lot of opportunity to test a lot of these things, and they force it onto PTU, and it's always a disaster versus, if they can't get it for 50 people, a 10 people thing, maybe you can get it working there, they don't try. And I think that's what's slowing down these developments.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on? I actually have quite a bit of tweets to go over too, which is cool. We have a full show today. It's gonna be nice.
I would say I'll be the first one just to get it out of the way that we should rename February Carrick. That's about all.
Weird champ.
We need to have 100 Carricks just orbiting Port Alistair, because that's how it's probably going to be for the next month and a half of people just sitting around their ships happy they have them.
The screenshots on Reddit coming this month is going to be next level.
Now that the Carrick's here, they can't, right now, as soon as they release the Carrick, they could do no wrong. They could blow up a planet and no one's going to say anything for a month.
You realize
because we're all going to
be every Carrick owner is going to complain, right? About some little thing that they hoped the Carrick was going to be or have that it doesn't. Like, the feedback that they got about the Carrick from Citizencon, there wasn't much positives around it, but hey, we're fucking way off topic.
All right,
way off topic. So let's rein it back in. Let's rein.
Until the next
I don't want to talk.
We're
not talking about the Carrick ever on this show, so we're reining it in.
Okay. For the next 5 minutes, we won't talk about the Carrick, the wonderful ship. All right. Anyway,
all right,
thank you.
Anytime, man. Talk to you soon, buddy. All right, so in the meantime, we have, like I said, we have quite a bit of tweets. I hope this works. Let's see. There we go. So the first one was actually 9 hours ago while I was at work. Nioxin messaged this and said, I think Theaters of War will help short-term, but doubt long-term effectiveness due to meta shifts and ever-changing battle locations and gameplay additions over time as they're added, and at what cost to other premium gameplay dev time. At what cost? Pepe think. I think they're saying that the costs are going to be relatively minimum. is what they're really. I mean, they really pushed it on Star Citizen Live that we have a very small team, and there's gonna be low cost. But I don't, it's what they're saying. We don't know. But yeah, I think that's kind of what's it. I don't know if meta shifts really matter. I think meta shifts are going to happen in Theaters of War quicker and more often. And I think the teams that are balancing are going to be able to react to those meta shifts a lot quicker if we have a lot of people playing the game. So that's where I see Theaters of War and the value in it is specifically for that. But I do think you mean like within the PU. But the thing about the PU is these experiences happen so few and far between that the metas shift very slowly. I mean, there's just one meta build right now, and hopefully, that can really be hammered home to the devs. Like, this is a bad experience. People having these guns is a bad experience. Everyone's getting one shot with these guns. Can we fix them? Yes. Boom. That's what you get out of Theaters of War. That's a good thing. That's a good thing for everybody in every aspect of Star Citizen, hopefully. Now, with that said, I got to bring in our next caller here. So, 1 second. Because, as always, I'm not the most prepared. But, yeah, I mean, that's really what my take is on that. Is it's a little bit... I see the value. I'm just worried about if history will repeat itself. So, anyway, our next caller is Kimber. Hey, Kimber. Is that how you say your name? Kimber? Am I saying it right? Chamber. Okay, that's what I thought the first time. How you doing, man? So
good, man. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning to you. So let's start out with did you try Theaters of War? Did you go to Citizencon at all?
No, I didn't go to Citizencon. I've been playing. I've been a backer since like 2.4, and I played a lot of Arena Commander in 2.5. I got really into the latter, and a lot of Star Marine when it came out. That was good.
Do you have like Battlefield and PlanetSide experience? Have you ever played those games?
I played Battlefield back when I was a filthy console gamer.
Gotcha.
But I love those kind of games. Like, let's see. Most recently, I've been playing a lot of Apex and CS:GO.
Okay.
And I play Overwatch, so I do like FPS.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, what are your... Ooh, I just whacked my keyboard really bad. What are your thoughts on the topic then? Like, do you think it's a waste of time or?
No, actually, I'm gonna err on the side of like they need to go hard on this, and they need to sell it as its own game, because it's something that I see is going to get a lot more people playing the game, even to the point of not even saying it's Star Citizen, because just trying to kind of Star Citizen's kind of like, it's a hot word, like it's kind of hard to explain in itself, and I think a lot of the majority of people they can't even, they don't want to take the time to understand like Star Citizen. They just want to play a game. They want to play a fun game, and they want to play a competitive game. And it doesn't even have to have like a ton of content to it. Like, look at Apex, look at League of Legends. Like, look at all these highly competitive, like,
they're fairly basic.
It's one map, and it's like Apex had one map for so long, and it's still super popular, right? And it's like, I think if they kind of make it a solid game in itself, that's just fun to play, and not even worrying about, oh, this is going to be a test bed, this is going to be whatever. I think we just need more people getting in the game and getting in our little universe.
Exactly, and that's my main argument behind this. And when Hendrik, the first caller, mentioned, oh, they should just leave it in the PTU, I really think it needs to be a solid game experience on its own for it to be its most effective. I don't think it'll ever be effective if it isn't its own experience. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
And for me personally, like the reason why I don't play like Call of Duty or Battlefield is because I don't like those game companies just to begin with, and I don't know. That's just me. And I would really like to play a game like that, like a war games type FPS. That's just me personally. I don't know. And like Battlefront 2 as well. I was like an old Battlefront player, and like I love that. And I think this could sort of be something like that.
Okay.
and it would really get me playing again because I hate the space flight combat. Like 2.5 was my bread and butter. Like I was grinding the ladder, and that was so much fun. And I actually completely disagree with their point of like, oh, shooting pixels. I actually think that's fine. I think that you should have a variety of combat styles, not just dragging everyone super close together.
Yeah, I mean they have some ships that were meant to be sniper, or some weapons at least that were meant to be sniper weapons.
Yeah, like the rail type guns. Those were my favorite. What is it? Mass drivers. Those were actually my favorite because if you got really good with them, you could do some crazy damage. Even I think they were even one size lower, but they still did a lot of damage. Like they were size 3s.
And they just shot really slow, which weren't necessarily good for close quarter combat. But now people use them.
Management was crazy.
Yeah, so I think hopefully what this game mode does is bring some of those experiences back, or bring them just to the forefront like they should have been in the first place. I mean, I do before the show. I tend to do a lot of talking about the subject to get people built up and come on the show and talk. And I don't remember if I mentioned this in the intro, but did you hear when I said that the probably the reason that the flight model and the FPS experiences aren't that great is because people stopped playing them, and getting that feedback it disappeared, and they were only hearing it from one voice, very loud and at the time pretty obnoxious voices about the flight model, and now we're just not hearing, like they're not listening anymore, or that's like the vibe that I got, is that Arena Commander kind of died, everyone was playing in the PU, and the voices just got lost, and the feedback wasn't as effective.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think there's a lot of people that are really willing to play the game in kind of any balanced state, like meta state that there is, as long as it doesn't crash on you all the time. Because my biggest problem, the reason why I don't really play a lot, I pop in for every patch, I think, at least once. And then it just crashes, and I'm like, well, I'm going to go play something else. Because I grinded Star Citizen for a long time. It was my main game, and I think I just got really fatigued, and I think I'm still fatigued like years later.
I think that's fair. I mean, it's not a game that you can grind. There's no purpose to the grind. So when I know I have the same fatigue because I jump in and I've created these expectations that I'm going to jump in and do this today. I'm going to grind towards that this month. And the game's not there to support those kind of expectations yet. But if you like, for me, this has just been more of a revelation in like the last week or two. Talking to like other streamers who are new to the game and enjoying their experience, is they just play what's there and enjoy what's there, but you don't have to grind it. There's other great games out there, So.
Yeah, and I think games, even like Tarkov, like these kind of like niche games, they can get super popular and they don't have to have a ton of content.
Yeah,
if they're just it's kind of easy to understand. Like this is kind of a standalone thing. Or Apex, it's like I think they need to simplify the message of what this like game is and make it its own standalone thing, just to get people in, because people, like I said, they don't want to try to understand.
I think it's
they don't have the
people
time.
in, because you're going to get the people to come in initially when they drop it, but keeping them there is going to be the biggest problem.
Yeah, I think it could be a really fun game mode. I think they're not putting enough emphasis on it. I know that what they're trying to do, they're trying to market it as like, oh, we're not going to put that many devs on it.
Because they don't want to hear us
people in the
yell.
community. Yeah. A lot of people in the community are super invested in like, Squadron 42 and like the PU, and they're really like, they love that and they're very loud about it, and that's okay, because like I love those things too, and they're I can't wait. I'm a MMO player too. I play a lot of World of Warcraft, and like I can't wait till that day. But I hear them, but I think they do need to put a little bit more focus on it and make it its own thing. And like I said, don't even say Star Citizen. I don't know, Star Citizen : game. I don't know. But
I mean, always, like for years now, WTFosaurus came up with this idea, and I thought it was genius, is These should be free to play and out there for people to experience and bring people in to the Star Citizen universe, I think. But they just never developed any of them as real game experiences. They've always just been developed as test beds. And I think they tried with Arena Commander to gamify it, and we just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but yeah, and I like the other point about the rewards, because I mean, like, I get the monthly rewards and whatever, and that's cool, but I think they feel like I didn't really work for them. I did in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Well, yeah.
You paid for them.
But like, it would be really cool to have those as in-game rewards.
And work towards them within this game mode, and at the same time, you're providing feedback. It's like, it's such a good scenario, but I share some concerns with a lot of people that I'm not 100% that this is going to be successful by any means, you know?
Yeah, I mean, not if they're... I think, like I said, I think they need to go more into it.
Yeah.
Invest a little more into it. I don't think it's going to be successful at the amount of investment that I feel like is coming from it.
Is being put in, yeah.
I think they need to do more.
For sure.
But that's pretty much it on my thoughts about it.
All right, Chamber.
But I'm excited for it. I really am.
Nice. I am too. I actually am, and I really hope it delivers. I think the big kind of factor here is Sean Tracy, and this is his baby, and it's not Chris Roberts' baby. And I think now we'll see, like, is this going to be hyper focused on its purpose or not? So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. But all right, buddy. This is your first time calling, right?
Oh yeah, I've been watching for a while, but yeah, first time caller.
Thanks, man. Hope to hear from you again soon.
Yep, thank you.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. All right, so again, like I said, we have quite a few tweets. That was a really good call, by the way, especially for first timer. That was awesome. This one is from Desmond, and he said, player density is a huge thing for me. Need more friendly player encounters. The servers aren't upgrading population. No reason for players that are in to meet up, need salvage repair encounter. Theater of War gives you that density, but you lose PU ACC progress. I don't know what he means, but yeah, I don't think you lose progress in the PU. I've always been of this kind of thought in recent months, but you lose the player account progress. Player account progress. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Because you're spending less time in the PU. And yeah, he just said it in Twitch chat that he meant account. So the thing about the PU where you need salvage repair and cargo transfer kind of stuff is I still don't think they plan on developing that until they have a better framework for what the PU is going to actually look like in terms of like server meshing and iCache and persistence, and like there's so many technological hurdles they still need to climb to get to what the framework of the PU will be, that I don't know if they really want to develop things like salvage repair and cargo changes necessarily, because they're going to have to redo them anyway. So the idea of that and having Theaters of War as the place to be giving feedback on this specific thing. I mean, remember, this is just combat focused. So if you really want player encounters in relation to salvage repair and cargo transfer, you're going to go to the PU anyway. But if you want them as far as combat goes, you're going to be able to get those. And look at this in a positive, guys. You know those guys that sit around Port Olisar with the, overpowered builds, kind of ruining your time, that you're calling griefers? Those guys are just really bored and really are looking for a PvP experience, and they can't find one. They're not going to be in the PU getting in the way of your fun anymore, because they're going to be having fun in a game mode like this as well. You got to remember that there's a lot of people out there like that have been not getting their experiences, right? And they're kind of ruining yours because they can't have theirs. So, I'm sure there's going to be the odd, asshole out there, but in all honesty, I'm pretty sure those kind of players are going to be shifting over to this for a little bit while until we have that enjoyable experience for them in the PU. All right, so moving on to our next caller here, we have GNU. I know him as Uriah, so I'll probably end up calling him that if you get confused. So Uriah, what's up, man? How
Hey,
how do
Mike, how
you?
you doing?
I'm good. How do you like say your screen name? I always just called you Uriah.
It's Uriah, you got it.
But what's the GNU at the end?
Just an acronym.
Okay. So I have that up on the screen, but I'll switch it to Uriah right now.
You can tell Detox how to pronounce my name now.
He doesn't. What does he call you? Urine or something?
Urea.
Really?
It's common.
Yeah, that's weird.
Anyway, yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate
No
it.
problem. Go for it, man. So starting out with, did you go to Citizencon?
No.
Did you try it out? And then what are your general like these type of combined arm game modes experiences?
Yeah, so no, I didn't. I've never been to CitizenCon or anything like that.
Okay.
I'm a game developer. I work in like flight simulation mostly. I actually work in a game engine that covers the entire planet, so big scale stuff.
Okay.
I really like RPGs, survival and flight sims, all that kind of stuff. Not big on like PvP games like Call of Duty, but
Gotcha.
I love PvP in this game, or I did. And
Most people did, yeah.
yeah. So one of the things for me, I think I started in 2.6.3. That was like the first patch I ever played. Now I play an Evocati. I test an Evocati, but I don't play anymore.
Okay.
And I'm trying actually to reserve myself from burning out because I see the PU as a huge amount of burnout for like consistent players.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine for someone who has to do it like almost like a job like you. So
Yeah, I honestly, I've definitely taken a step back recently and thought about things, and I had a really good talk with a roleplay streamer, the Jam Jar, and he kind of gave me he opened my eyes to things. So I just enjoy the game as it is and enjoy the people that are here. I'm fortunate enough that this isn't my job. This is my hobby that I really enjoy, and I've been enjoying it a lot more since kind of him opening my eyes a little bit.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, putting development, like the open development aside, the way I approach it is like from game design. And I think there's really two important questions to answer. And they are, why is PvP fun in the PU and why isn't it fun?
Yes.
I think we really need to address those two questions together.
Okay, well, what are your thoughts on it? Start out with why it's fun, because I can't think of anything.
So
that'll be the short one.
Why it's fun, and I'll give you a perfect case study, Rexzilla. All right.
Okay.
The scope and scale of this game, from a design perspective, are pretty much unmatched in the industry, and I think that gives an unparalleled experience. Rexzilla really proved that 25v25 PvP was even feasible.
Yeah.
I've seen streamers try to do it before. Detox. I've seen you do it a couple times. I've seen some other people do it.
He does it
but
every
not
day
consistently. Does he?
Oh yeah. Detox is
Nice.
like 100% every day doing ops. They do all sorts of cool stuff.
And I did that for about a year and a half. With orgs, and I have an org that I kind of run, but there's so much burnout. It's very time consuming. So look, I see the fun as a game that has so much scope and scale, and you're able to do more than anything like a Battlefield experience or a Call of Duty experience or a flight sim experience, like, let's say DCF or something.
Yeah.
Now, why isn't it fun? And I think this is really important, and these are points that everyone's kind of gone over today, yourself included. But I just want to kind of rehash them, and then I'll get to my actual point.
No problem.
So why isn't it fun? Too much time and effort. There's lots of bugs in the PU. And especially for first-person PvP, I think it's a little different because you can just go outside of all SR, get into a ship, and pew, pew, pew.
Yeah.
That's a little different. For like a first-person tactical experience, very, very time-consuming.
Yeah, the only people you're getting that with are Rexzilla and Detox. Like, you're not getting that experience anywhere else.
Now, they've tried to put in a couple missions that do that. I think that's awesome, but they haven't really... They just take too long to set up. How long does it take to go do the 890 jump mission, or to do that drug lab mission that Pacheco gives you?
Yeah.
It takes like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it doesn't even work right now.
No, and it's a great idea for the long term. I just don't think we're there yet. Now, also, when Rexzilla was kind of winding down and moving over to Facebook, he was getting really frustrated with a couple of the game mechanics in the PU, specifically when they introduced fines. And there's going to be a lot more of that.
Yeah.
And the more game mechanics they introduce like that from a design perspective are great for the MMO, but not so much for people who just want to get in and do, actually do PvP.
Yeah.
I think the orgs are going to get very frustrated until things like actual org warfare are introduced, which are actual game mechanics.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. Now, and to the other caller's point, Bad Words, he said Arena Commander is focused on current dogfighter meta, and that's exactly right. Like I don't think that the Star Marine or Arena Commander ever provided the type of experience that PvP can be in the PU, and that's kind of my point. So now, why do we need this Theaters of War? And I think it's really, really simple. And you've said it. Paraphrasing Sean Tracy from Citizencon, we need to chase the fun.
Yeah.
And that's really where I set everything aside. So answering those two questions, why is it fun? Why isn't it fun? Well, I think right now PvP is outweighed by the not fun experiences of the PU.
Yeah.
That's why people just go mine and stuff. It's simple, and you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing. I can't believe the Wii U guy. He's complete. I work a lot of hours during the weekend, and I sometimes lose my mind by the time I get to Sunday. The Wii U guy. He's like one of my better friends within the Star Citizen community. I can't think of his name. Help me out, Twitch chat.
I don't know who you're talking about.
You will probably when they say his name. Red Lear.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Red Lear's was huge into ship combat. He was all about it, right? Even Detox was, and they I've seen Red Lear like mining. You know what I mean? Like this is what these guys are doing because they can't do anything else.
Well, and I think that one of the things that actually really killed PvP in general was getting more drug labs. That totally nerfed that experience. Everyone would go to Illyria, and that's where you'd be. Or sorry, not Illyria, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they'd be focused around Jumptown, and that was it. And now you still only have 50 players, but now you have 15 drug labs or whatever. So now, I think you asked a question earlier about, is this a repeat of Star Marine?
Yeah.
And I actually, because of these points, I really don't think so.
Okay.
And I'm not going to address development, even though that's where I come from. It's my background. We'll see how they do in terms of that. But I think that the fact that it's Star Marine and Arena Commander combined, and the emphasis should be that.
Yeah.
Like that's introducing a quick game mode, which combines the two elements, which is why this game is really special for PvP.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense. I just hope it holds on, and I hope that whatever issues with it don't push people away.
Yeah. To
the point where they stop playing it, and then you lose this perfect opportunity for feedback.
Which is like bugs and frustration and stuff like that.
But
one
fortunately, we don't have the
have
issues that the PU cause, which is where they've been getting feedback from so far, which you really perfectly point out.
I did want to have one more point I haven't heard.
Okay.
And how could they screw it up besides technical development and all that? And I kind of disagree with the previous caller here, and that is monetization. I would like to see it its own product. I would like to see it kind of stand alone a little bit, but I would not like to see them go down the monetization path, which they have on every single thing they've ever done. And I think that would really, really be sad to see this, which I think is a really cool concept, be taken. And now, guess what? I mean, look at all the other PvP games out there and their monetization, and then CIG going, hey, we could do that. I think that would be a disaster.
Yeah, I think they can do that if this experience becomes its own standalone thing that, like, way down the line, you already have Star Citizen out there monetized in whatever way that it's going to be monetized, fun, out there, a good experience, and then you have this separate experience that you want to throw some cosmetic monetization into if you so choose. I don't really have an issue with that necessarily, but right now, for the purpose of what it's being used for, I think you need some sort of a progression something to work towards while playing it, maybe. But maybe like gun unlocks or something. I don't know.
Unlocks are fine as long as it's through gameplay.
Yeah, only through gameplay, not monetized.
I mean, we have this rec thing, like, and I'm a subscriber, and I have a whole crap load of rec, so I could just go in and buy everything now. Like,
I hope they reset it.
You know what I mean?
I honestly, I hope they reset it. I think they really need to reset it for the release of this. That'd be a big positive.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but all right, Uriah, you have a great one. We'll leave you there. And
yeah, you too, man.
Yeah, thank you for your input, man. It was really, really good. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Have a nice day.
Yeah, man. Bye now. All right, so moving on to our next tweet. I actually have to see if we have any more. We might. No, that's it. Okay, so Rent-A-Spoon says, if they don't update Theaters of War weekly, then people will play it for a while, but won't wait 3 months for a fix. I think this is for feedback for Squadron 42, but the flight model and weapons will suck. They need to get the combat community back, but don't think this is the way. That's an interesting take. I don't think necessarily fixing it weekly, but I definitely agree. If they're only developing for Theaters of War quarterly, we're probably going to run into the same problems with the PU, where you have these like influx of players and then they go away for a while, and then influx and then they go away, and you never get really solid feedback on the experience, right? So yeah, that's actually a really good point. Really, really good point there. So thank you for that very much. I don't know. Weekly sounds a little excessive though, but little tweaks here and there. Yeah, sure. Why not? All right, so moving on, our next caller is Juan. Juan, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. First time caller too. We've had a few today.
Yeah, long time listener, first time caller.
Nice. So the same question I've been asking everybody: did you go to Citizencon? Did you try it? And what are your experiences with like combined arms type games?
I did not go to Citizencon. In general, I would say that I hate combined arm type games.
Okay.
The Planet Side 2 is really what Theaters of War reminds me of, and that's a game that I've recently kind of gotten into, because when my coworkers I'm trying to do some stuff with on the side, and he's into that type of thing, and I'm actually coming from the opposite kind of perspective as Uriah, in that I have a lot of concerns with the Theater of War as a concept. I'm conflicted on it.
Okay.
Because like all the concerns I have counterpoints for also, but I mean I'm just going to be coming at it from the concern side for the sake of answer the call. But yeah, I backed in 2016, I want to say.
Okay.
2.5, 2.6. So I kind of missed the boat on the really good combat. So that's where my perspective is coming from, and I'm really looking at it in a sense of I really like the sim gameplay aspect of it, and I feel that that's basically been abandoned in both this game mode and largely in the PU, because it's all that's they've got to develop the back-end tech for. So I'm looking at it from a standpoint of I can see where like the current community at large, I would say, isn't going to necessarily be super interested in the Theater of War gameplay from a play it every day standpoint. But like my coworker, I can see if this was free to play or I set up an account for him or something like that, he would be playing it constantly. And I kind of have a concern that might overshadow the PU in a certain sense.
I think I know where you're going, but continue.
So
go ahead. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I know where you're going with this.
Right. Well, I mean, to go back to like the Planet Side 2 example, there's a huge community of players that they just they're into this PvP deathmatch scenario where oh, I shoot a guy and then I die and then I respawn, and then I shoot a guy and then I die and I respawn, and you add vehicle and all this stuff into it to kind of add some more flavor to it. But I played that for 5-10 minutes and I was like, this is stupid, because I want the long-term scenario of death matters, and it's not this rinse and repeat thing. But there's this huge community of people that are into that kind of gameplay, and Theaters of War being in Star Citizen is so much superior to anything else out there, just because of what it offers, that I could see that community could come to Star Citizen, which is great. But at the same time, I don't want that to be what Star Citizen is.
Yeah, and where I thought you were going with this is this game, the negative thing that might come out of it is this little game mode might bring people from other game communities here, and that's where they're hearing the feedback from, not people that play the PU.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly my point, is that I don't want that to be what Star Citizen is, with this rinse and repeat type of stuff. And if you have, 1 million people that show up, that's all they care about, then I don't want Star Citizen to become Call of Duty, for instance.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I'll make a counterpoint to that, and this counterpoint is my opinion for sure, is that I also don't want, like, I don't intend to be a combat player at all, but the people giving the feedback for Star Citizen's combat experience, I don't need to be these Redditors that are posting screenshots, that's all they do, or cargo haulers, or people that are so excited for exploring in Star Citizen. And unfortunately, those are the people that are giving feedback for Star Citizen largely as a whole right now. I think we need people that have experience in games like PlanetSide, DCS, other types of combat experience games. Because you got to remember, this is only to get the combat experience right. This isn't to make the PU Theaters of War. This is to make that little part of the PU good.
Well, I agree with your point, and I thought about that as well. And from a balancing perspective, absolutely. The concern for me is whether or not that becomes a focus. And when you have a huge community of people that all of a sudden shows up and are throwing their money around.
Rod, I don't want to interrupt, but your mic is making this like crazy sound all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Okay, let me turn my activation down.
It's not even that. It's making like a robotic sound, like almost like the connection isn't great. So if you wanted to plug it in and plug it back out or something, I don't know.
Sure, I can do that.
It sounds fine now, though.
Oh, is it good now?
Yeah,
I've got really lousy internet, so.
Okay, maybe that's it, but it was weird. So yeah. Anyway, continue your thought. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Just that I didn't want it to overshadow the sim side of it, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that's important. I agree with you, but I think you see my point as well, right? From the other side.
Yeah, sure. We need the people that are combat focused to be able to say, yeah, this is balanced, or there's a meta here, and if you don't have these guns, then it's just game over.
Yeah.
But I love Sean, but there's some things that I disagree with, where he says, oh, it's a microcosm of the PU because we've got this, and this element. I mean, yes and no. I mean, the idea that it's a microcosm and that they've taken big elements and kind of condensed it down, sure. But if I'm forced into, I have to play Wave 1 FPS, and then I have access to a Buccaneer with these weapons and a Super Hornet with these weapons, that kind of takes away the whole part of the game that I like out of the whole gameplay, because I want the customization and like I'm primarily a pilot, right?
Yeah.
So I want to be able to say, okay, I want this ship with these weapons and customize it the way that I like, as opposed to being forced into, you have these three ships.
I think you're looking at it a little bit too deeply, possibly. Like, who's to say that there won't be some customization and some choice later down the line? And like, this is the this will be the first game mode that they have, and they're going to have quite a few probably, and they're not going to just stick you with the same ship over and over again. They're going to want you to have some more unique experiences. Otherwise, nobody's going to play it ever again, right? So I don't know if I agree with that point entirely. But
I could, I say, I could go back and forth on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But my point isn't so much that they're going to trap you into one thing or the other. It's a lot, and I understand it from the standpoint of it takes forever to get things set up to do this. So we kind of have to dumb it down a little bit, make it more arcadey. That's the part of it that I don't like, is the thing. But
I don't know if that's what they're doing either. I think you're making a lot of assumptions for what it is that we don't have the answers for yet.
Right. Well, and a lot of this probably, my mind would be put at ease if I was able to have gone to Citizencon and see exactly what the gameplay is.
Yeah.
Because having not played it, it's based on, my experience with PlanetSide 2 and then watching the trailer.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But in general, my question that I'm asking myself anytime I boot up Star Citizen is, they talk about it's the greatest space sim ever, and I'm like, well, where's the sim part of it?
It's never been a sim.
Right.
It's never been a sim, and that's, yeah. They need to stop saying that, because it's never been the greatest space sim ever, and it never will be, right? Because it's not a sim, but it still might be a really fun experience, and that's really fun. It's been like they try to err on the side of realism, but it's definitely not a sim.
Yeah. Well, and I would agree. But if they've got just certain things that are sim, like it's a sim light, if anything.
Yeah.
That they've kind of included in there.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I see the theaters of war can be a huge net positive.
Okay.
If they handle it right, because absolutely, from the perspective of, we need to be able to balance things, and you need people to be able to fight back and forth, and trying to get that in the PU is just unfounded for most people, especially with the current community, because all of it. I don't want to say all, but a large portion of us are working 40, 45 hours a week. We don't have time to sit there for 5 hours to set up a PvP battle.
Yeah, the Star Citizen average player is definitely 28 plus, Average age is probably above 30. So it's definitely true that most of us have working lives, and we're not going to be able to grind this too much.
Right. So, I mean, I'm hopeful, but also kind of somewhat hesitant about the Theaters of War gameplay, I guess is my main point, and that I can see that there's a big community of people that are into the PvP aspect that are not current backers, that they could bring into this if they set it up right, where they can get access.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think the concerns are warranted, and I'm with you on them. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see what our boy Sean Tracy can do. This is his the spotlight's on him for this one, right? For the next few quarters, for sure, to see what they do and see what happens. But all right, Rob. Go ahead. If you have any final points, go for it.
Well, I was just going to ask you, have you done anything with Arena Commander since the Citizencon?
I've tried. I can't get a game. Can't get anybody to play. Same with the Star Marine. I think it goes down to one of the issues that they mentioned on Star Citizen Live, where you're like creating your own server because the back end's messed up, and they're But I can't get a game.
Yeah. Generally, when I play it at this point, I just do Swarm or whatever, and more or less play by myself, because there's that whole system of being able to customize your ship is broken as far as I'm concerned at this point.
Yeah.
With the way they have it set up. But there were just certain, and this is kind of slightly a nitpick, but there's just certain things that I'm going to use this as an example of kind of where my concern is.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that, like he had said that they made it so that the boundary zone was bigger, which is true, and that it would be, you go out of bounds and you get a timer and you have to get back in bounds, but you don't just hit it and immediately explode, which is not true. And that's kind of where the communication side of it is.
No, they said that's coming in 3.9.
He said that's coming in 3.9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I must have misunderstood that, but my point was going to be that the communication of what they want and intend for a lot of these things is and probably always will be something that needs work.
Of course, yeah. So I guess we'll leave it there, Rod. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it. Hope to have you on again soon for another topic. But
absolutely,
very good insight.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. I do have another tweet, but I'm gonna get ASN in because he says I'm ready, so he might need to go because I know he's at work, I think. So let me pop him in real quick. ASN, what's up, dude?
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. So
doing good.
You went to Citizencon.
Yeah.
Did you try the theaters?
No, sadly not.
Okay.
We were a bit late, so we saw like people in the room and people playing, but we didn't get to check it out. It was already filled up the queue list.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like there were a couple of things that were said throughout the podcast that I wanted to mention. Like one of them was that like kind of sticked out to me was that whenever you said that because people are not playing AC or SM, that they're not getting feedback, hence the parts of those games, like the mechanics of flight and fighting on the ground aren't being updated.
I think that they're not getting feedback that represents the community.
Yes. So, like in general, like this is my experience from a couple of things, but like the most relatable game would be Squad or Project Reality that I modded.
Okay.
Squad I worked on. The feedback the best feedback you can have are metrics in general because they help you fine-tune balance.
Okay.
The feedback threads that Cloud Imperium puts on their forum are actually the ones where they are actually seeking information. I think in general, anybody from the community saying one thing or another doesn't really help the developer that much, right?
Okay.
Sometimes these long threads are, an idea generation. They're useful, but if you cannot put the information into a spectrum where you can assess it and then see how you can implement it or have counter arguments against it, that information essentially isn't that useful. It just it just airs around the game. So I think the best info you can get in SC through Theaters of War would also be obviously the metrics that they can gather, how which gun has how long time to kill, what are the estimated ranges. Of course the overall feel and stuff you can get feedback surveys on, but the specific details always are more valuable for gathering feedback. That's one thing I want to say. And also I think they know how much the FPS in the flight sucks, because they have worked on other games, and game designers are much more critical and know all the weaknesses and strengths of what they're building. So I don't think that they're out of the loop.
Why do you think there's been no iteration on it then for the last year?
I think generally it ties down to a resource prioritization issue. It depends on, so basically since Squadron has FPS, everything is flight, but they only have so much time and effort to work on something, so they kind of prioritize or whatnot. I think they're looking at what is necessary right now. So they are probably saying the FPS right now is average, it works, and for now that's what we need. So let's just leave it like that. Let's focus on what isn't even average, which is, the AI and the network and all the other stuff. So I think it kind of comes down to that.
Okay.
And Theaters of War, like, because the issue here is I think people are always like focusing on the modes a bit too much. Like the modes essentially mean the mechanic themselves, right? So AC means flight, SM means like ground combat, FPS combat. And I played more than 7,000 hours of tactical FPS games. So I have a lot of knowledge and like a feel for FPS games, especially on the tactical end.
Okay.
And Star Citizen is nowhere near close to a good FPS. Like it's just not. It has the basis of an like average 2010 FPS game, but that's about it. And so I can easily like tell you that the game obviously needs something where it's much more focused, and Theaters of War is that. Because combined arms is really hard to balance. I played combined arms games where you have ground infantry, you have light vehicles, medium armor, you have main battle tanks, APCs, and then also on air you have helicopters, planes, and UAVs. So like all of these working together is first off crazy fun. It's amazing because that's real team play. You're underground, you can call laser designated strikes. You have another player fly over you, drop a bomb from a kilometer away, drops right on the enemy tank. That feeling is amazing. Same thing with helicopters, same thing with mortar teams. Like combined arms is actually a great expression of teamwork and communication because it directly translates into combat efficiency in whatever scenario you're in.
Yeah.
So in Star Citizen, you can achieve pretty similar results just with, sci-fi setting. You can have the plane, like the ships, the spaceships do the close air support, and their different guns react to the ground differently. And you can do all these things, but in Theaters of War, you have this test bed you can test it in. While in the PU, you would need to gather orgs to do this, and that is not what usually happens in the PU. Most people just run around doing missions and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think it is useful. I think there's a usefulness to it. But what Theaters of War is going to solve is, I think, what it really is going to focus on is the balancing between all these three elements, the balancing between all the weapons, the balancing between all the vehicles, and of course some of the design additions. But the real issue, I think, at hand that CIG needs to put focus on and development time on is making the gunplay feel better. And that is not like tied to Theaters of War. That's just a part of the core game.
Yeah, this never required Theaters of War to make the gunplay better.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't need that. And the same thing with the flight stuff. Although I gotta say, with the flight stuff, they've been a bit more iterative over the past years. But like, the reason why Theaters of War is coming, obviously with combined arms, is another reason. But like, the core of the issue are these mechanics and how they're not developed enough.
Yeah.
And if that is fixed, you can actually have a Theaters of War that is fun and that you can also work on balancing with. So they're actually tackling like several issues at once. But Theaters of War, I don't think will necessarily translate into a better flight or better gunplay. There might be fixes here and there because there will be increased focus, because Sean mentioned that if it's more, if there's much more, if it's more seen more, if it's talked about more, if it's more up your face, then you're more likely to look at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he wants to do that. He wants to kind of bring all the attention to it, to kind of focus on these weaker parts of the game. But who's going to spend the resources? Like, is there somebody at CIG saying like, okay, let's do like a 6-month like advance the FPS gameplay, the animations, the camera movement, the entire feel of each gun, the separation of fields from each gun, the different energy types, whatever, everything. Let's look at that. Let's make 6-month development like a milestone of getting FPS to the next level. Like, is somebody really saying that or doing that?
That's what I think what the intention is that's what his team does. Like, their small focused team, that's their job. Like, that when they described this team before they ever showed it to us, that they were like going to be the balance team. That they were going to be the team that worked on these issues.
Yeah.
And I don't know
But
what their team makeup is, if they have like, you know, the certain members that are required to do this kind of work, but that's how they made it sound to me. So they're not taking away from anybody else working on any other things, because this is all they're supposed to work on, is our experiences with these things. So they focus on the making each weapon feel unique and different and good or whatever, you know?
Yeah, but it's like you have, I would say, to make a good FPS game, from animator to programmer to designer to sound, audio, like your FPS team for a good one with experience would at least need 10 to 15 people, I would say.
Okay.
To make a good one.
What if
and that team should be able to, like, you know, improve every part of an FPS. And the same thing with Flight. The Flight is a bit different, but like it also goes in because CIG has their own departments. But I'm saying that Sean's team must be much larger to both fix ground FPS and Flight, and you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
To me, it seems like they're gonna fix the issue standing out, that because he was talking about 4 or 5 people, if I got it right, but if I got it wrong,
that's what it seemed like to me. But they never said a number.
Yeah. So I think it's more about balancing and fixing the outlying issues and prepping for the combined arms gameplay. Then okay, here is like FPS needs, you know, we need better camera movement. We need more reactive like hit registration. Like that stuff is the job of another department. Now, if Sean is saying those departments are gonna, you know, listen to us, they're gonna heed our calls, and they're gonna focus on what we want, and we're gonna point that out, then that would work essentially. But are they focusing on that, or are they focusing on the squadron FPS stuff?
You know, he kind of said that the thing is that this is how they're gonna figure out squadron FPS stuff. This is how they're gonna figure out squadron spaceship combat stuff. But then at the same time, he also said, like, as far as like when you mentioned animators, that's what stuck out to me, is that certain things are going to be developed for the PU and Squadron, and then he's going to pull those into this. They're not developing them together. So he's going to go, oh, that's something we can pull into our game mode and make it more interesting, instead of actively developing for it. So people will be doing work on things for what's important and then using it. Then he'll use it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there are different code bases. I'm just saying you could be working on the same thing at the same code base, but you could be focused on different things, right?
Gotcha.
That still ends up being the same issue.
Okay.
People are confusing it as if I'm saying it's a different game. No. I'm talking about it's the same code base.
Gotcha.
And the other thing about the theaters, well, one good part of it is because I talked about this at Citizencon with some of the devs, is like, why don't you have a pretty much, you know, territory control system, like a flag system, a area control system where you can check who's controlling what area. And theaters of war having this could actually retranslate back into the PU.
Yeah.
Later, when they allow players to hold territory, they can put similar design elements of flags, control zones, and then attach it to player organizations. So
yeah, that's how you take over territory of moons or whatever. Yeah.
So that, of course, there are also very positive parts. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Because it's quite a complicated issue, and I think they really should look at like Squad, Postscriptum, and some other tactical shooters to see how much nuance and effort goes into like making something that's so smooth. Like there is a lot to, like, for example, one of the mechanics that I think needs to be in the game is suppression. Suppression is like a great tactical FPS element that, like, whenever you have fire superiority over a target, they would get a debuff, be it on their weapon sway, be it on their camera, whatever. It's not something annoying, but something to give a slight advantage to whoever has fire superiority, whoever has better recon. And the same thing for flight and radar, right? You know, whoever has better knowledge.
How would that not be like arcadey though.
What do you mean?
Well, when you say like you would just get a debuff, like isn't the debuff that you have to stay behind cover?
No. Debuff as in your actual weapon change, like weapon sway changes, your camera changes, like that's the debuff. So it's kind of like simulating what a real person would go under suppression, kind of.
Okay. Gotcha. I think I understand
something
more.
real. It's like what real soldiers
Yeah.
kind of feel. Your blood rushes,
Yeah.
you're getting shot at, you're near to death,
But-
and you can't put your head out that easy to accurately fire back. The entire
Gotcha.
point is that you shouldn't accurately fire back if somebody has locked you down, caught you off guard and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes everything more tactical. When you're in CQB, you can remove that a little bit, but whenever you're now being suddenly hit, then that can kick in. There are a lot of things like medic stuff too. Like, and the same thing with ships. Like, ships also need that kind of special attention of, reading the radar, doing all these balance passes. The armor is needed on ships, the physicalized damage that they're talking about. So, like, a lot of stuff is still, like, on the base level. That's what I'm trying to say. And Theaters of War is not necessarily something that's going to fix something. Maybe it will bring more attention to it so they can pull the teams and fix what is actually the most critical.
Mm. Yeah. Then with that said, is it a waste of time?
Oh, like, how else are you going to put like ground,
it's hard to tell
FPS and air together
from what you're saying if you feel it is or if it isn't.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn because, like, what we want to hear is that where Sean would say, okay, like we're gonna find everything what's wrong with FPS. We're gonna find everything what's wrong with dogfighting.
Yeah.
And we're gonna kind of be like, the ones who shine the light on all the issues, and all the teams are gonna kind of like focus on that, are gonna support us. Like, we have all these resources now that we're gonna back us up.
Yeah.
And then we're going to polish and then make sure both Squadron and PU in 2020, at the end of 20, like, there should be clear goals. Like, at the end of 2020, all these outlying issues of flight will be fixed. All these issues of ground should be fixed. Like, there should be these clear goals, and then also a clear dedication of resources.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
and right now nothing's clear,
it might
right?
be the same situation.
They're trying to point out that we're like, it's very hard to tell what's going on because they're not clear. They're basically saying like all they've really mentioned about Theaters of War so far is like the general idea of the game mode and then why they're doing it. But it's not clear of how many resources they're going to be getting, what their goals are. I think they're afraid to share those with us with fear of us getting upset, but I assume they have those goals internally.
I think it's good to be honest about what the condition, like, that's why people like thought Sean was very awesome whenever he came up and said, hey, we got to make it fun first and then beautiful, and like that was like a part of sharing what is the current situation, because I told you, developers know the exact weaknesses and strengths of their game because you design it, you think about every part of it, like you think about every inch of what you're creating, and you know where you're weaker. The issue at these companies is like production is trying to prioritize what is more important. So you try to make sure that your weakest points can also be covered while also hitting your production goals. Yeah. That is the entire like struggle that's going behind the scenes, is like, all these resources being pulled away here and there. Yeah. And then you're trying to make sure that these resources are being pulled to where you're the weakest. So you're not always like, developing something, leaving it half measured, moving on, and then you have this track record of hundreds of features that are half developed.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah, it's so I'm gonna say I think it's gonna be beneficial when it comes to balancing between ground, air, and their mix and how they interact, their damages, their armor. That stuff is gonna get better. The outlying FPS issues and flight issues are gonna be fixed, but I'm skeptical if we're gonna get that like very high quality ground combat and very high quality, like, what people expect on dogfight by the end of the year.
Yeah, oh, for sure, not by the end of the year, but hopefully long term, and this has some benefit for it. Otherwise, it answers our question as it would be a waste if it doesn't, right? That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah.
But all right, ASN, Is there anything else you want to add before we move on, or?
Like, I don't know what's going on with that. This is like, I know maybe this is not the place to ask, but like, what is happening with socks? Like, maybe somebody enlighten me, because they're saying socks is not raising server tick rate, and they said that it would before. Do you have any idea what's going on with network stuff?
I don't know. You're the game developer. What the fuck? I don't know. All I know is I don't see any change.
Yeah, because they made all those videos and saying that will be better, and then like suddenly they're like, oh, it didn't get better, like
at all.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know.
All right, you don't know too. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
right.
No, I'm clueless. I just mine.
All right.
That's it. Just mine my little rocks.
Easy.
Enjoy my day. Grind.
Yeah.
That's it. But all right, son, we'll let you go. We'll figure out this socks thing, and we'll get back to you, okay?
All right. Let me know, man. Let me know.
I will. Yeah.
Right,
I got him on my cell phone. All right, call you later. Bye. All right, and our last tweet is from Raid, because I still don't know how to say the beginning of his name. Theaters of War being called a waste of time is subjectively fallish. I can't say that word to me, to be honest, but I know what it means. The mode is not even released, and from what Sean Tracy was talking about on SCL has shown me it is already having a benefit with them getting rid of the 250 millisecond delay. That's huge. Yeah. So obviously it's already helping somewhat, but if it's like, if it's only doing that, like, is that an improvement? Sure. But a lot more is going to go into getting Theaters of War to be a thing than just this, right? Because it has to be more than just fixing that. Like, should smooth things out? Sure. Cool. But is the gunplay good? Is combat in a ship good? Is the overall experience good? There's a lot more that goes into it, right? But if it's already showing benefits, sure. Hopefully more to come, but we'll have to see. So our final caller here is Joy. And before we go on, I just want to say thank you to all the callers for getting in a timely manner and having a really good discussion so far. So Joy, what's up? How you doing?
Hi, I'm here.
Hello. If you can you turn me down in the background quite a bit? Because we got a big old
Absolutely.
Echo. Testing.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh yeah, I can hear me too.
Oh no.
That's better though. When I said I can hear me too, I don't hear me anymore.
Okay.
So did you go to Citizencon by chance? And what are your experiences with like these kind of games?
Citizencon, absolutely not. I think that's, at this point, that would be ridiculous.
Okay.
My experience has been playing since 1982, 1983. So, listen,
since before I was born.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
You asked the question, is Theaters of War a waste of time? And I'll give you the answer.
The answer
is yes.
All right.
Theaters of War is a waste of time. Squadron 42 is a waste of time. Anything that isn't significant, meaningful progress for the PU, meaning ships getting done, things getting balanced, systems getting built, significant bugs getting fixed, I believe really at the end of the day is a waste of time. Look at it. It's February 2nd, 2020. I say again, February 2nd, 2020.
Okay.
My sources are telling me the PU will not be on its feet until summer of 2027. What? That means it won't, quote unquote,
Who are these sources?
I can't reveal sources on an overseas line, Mike.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That means you're gonna get me sued. So listen, that means the PU will not, quote unquote, be playable in a satisfying state where you're entertained and you're not upset for lack of content, where they're working behind the scenes to stay ahead of us until the summer of 2030. 2030, Mike.
Your first source was 2027. Your first source said 2027. Now you're telling me 2030. What is this?
2027 for it to get on its feet.
Okay.
2030 for you to be quote unquote happy.
Oh,
Mike. Happy.
Okay. I like to be
Remember
happy.
when we all used to be happy, Mike? You remember those days?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. So look
I was like
it.
12.
What can you say? What can you say at this point? I have to say it. I have to admit it. Derek Smart was right. DerekSmartWasRight.com. No, that is not a real website. It's just me being cheeky, Mike.
Okay. So what say you to this? That a lot of what you seem very clear that like you enjoy that you're more looking forward to the PU than Squadron, but you're someone who played in the 80s. Did you play Wing Commander?
No, we're talking about the Atari 2600 all the way through the evolution of the Nintendo, the Genesis.
So you're a console gamer?
Console gamer, come to PC for the exclusive purpose of Star Citizen.
All right, so you never played Wing Commander or anything like that. There's a lot of parts, like there's I would say a fairly significant part of the community that isn't interested in the PU, that played, Chris Roberts' previous Wing Commander games, that are looking for the spiritual successor to that, which is Squadron. So like development to Squadron for those people isn't a waste of time. While for you and I, like I've created this like hatred inside of me for Squadron because I'm way more interested in the PU than I am Squadron. But to say that development towards Squadron is a waste of time isn't entirely fair. Would you agree with that?
It's the I'll step back a peg and say it's the gateway into the PU, which I think we all know the PU is the bread and butter. That's where the greatness is. That's where the glory
that's where
is.
the money came in, right? As well.
I think that's where the future is. Obviously, the PU. You
of
got
course.
28 chapters of Squadron 42. Okay, I'll get through it. Yeah. It'll be a entertaining time, and then it'll be over, and then it'll be PU time.
I mean, listen. While we have you on the line, I gotta know. What are your sources telling you about the release date for Squadron 42? Then.
Listen. As it stands right now, it's still Q4 2020. I think Chris is going to have to ramrod it, whether it's quote-unquote ready or not, Q4 2020. So, But hey, let me ask you a question. Would you really be that surprised if Squadron 42 Q4 gets pushed back?
No, of course not. I think everyone's expecting it. Nobody fucking believes that they're putting this thing out on time.
A lot of disenchanted people.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not at this point. There's nothing's a surprise. It just is what it is.
The flight model in 2.6.3 I thought was fine.
Okay.
I thought the Avenger series, the ships were fine.
Okay.
I don't know why you have to go back and rework everything. Maybe am I missing something here? It's fine. It works. Let's proceed.
Maybe a little bit, because when you go back to 2.6, a lot of the changes that I think they put in with the flight model initially were because the game world got a lot bigger, and then the Arena Commander flight model didn't translate well into the PU. And I think they wanted it to translate better, but then the way they made the changes affected combat too much negatively. And now they're trying to figure out a way to make both work, and they're struggling with it.
Can I be a little bit rude?
Sure.
I don't care. I just want them to get the game done. I just want them. The excuses, the stories, the lie. They've lied to us obviously many times before. We just want the game done. Anything that's obstructing the PU from getting built is very annoying. That's all I can say.
I agree. Anything that obstructs the PU from getting built is annoying. But when you've here's the thing with me, and where I think you could benefit from with your, because trust me, you exemplify a lot of the things that frustrate me about the game. Like you say a lot of the same things that I feel is, I keep telling myself, and this may be a big mistake for me because they've done this to us before. Like, all right, we need 64-bit precision. We need this. We need that. They've always told us that we needed server meshing. That was something they've always told us, right? And
yes.
I keep telling myself that I'm not going to get upset about the lack of the PU's development until they have that frame rate, right? Until they have that framework.
You're saying the clock hasn't started yet on the PU frustration.
I mean, obviously I've been frustrated, but I'm trying to like be realistic about things, that stuff is important for this game to be realized for what we backed it for, right? We backed for a certain thing, and until they make that framework of the thing that we expected to have, it like what we're playing now is pointless. It's stupid. Why are we getting upset about it? It's dumb. It's only here so they can get feedback on it, and like looking at it as anything other than that sucks. And it's created all this like anger inside me and frustration inside me when I'm supposed to just be waiting for them to, develop the game the way it's supposed to. And a lot of the frustration comes from a lot of the things that you bring up, like Squadron 42 is a waste of time. This is, there's things that have blocked the development most likely of this framework happening, right? It could have happened quicker, but maybe it didn't because of X, Y, and Z. But we don't work there. We don't know. I mean, you have your sources, obviously. I don't.
Well, look at it. When you're flying around in the PU, you've seen this argument time and time and time again, and it will continue to go on forever. And that is, the people that are working on the game, they're working as fast as they can because they want to see the game completed and play it too. Well, there's always that big counter argument too. You're telling me that people making $50K a year are in a big hurry to put themselves out of a job?
I also think that that's also a crock of shit. Like, if you've ever been at any workplace before, like, how many of you have that fucking guy or that group of guys or girls that are so fucking lazy and they just sit there and collect a paycheck? If you really don't think that that's also not happening at Star Citizen, you'd be delirious, right? Like, there's obviously some people that somebody looks over their shoulder and is like, how the fuck does this guy still work here, right? That happens in every company. So like, yes.
Somebody's
I'm sure
brother, somebody's kid, somebody's alcoholic brother-in-law. Okay. It goes on and on and on.
Sure, whatever. But the idea is like, there's that happens everywhere, and not everybody is 100% putting every ounce of their effort into Star Citizen, right? Are the people that we see on a regular basis? Yeah, probably. But, that's just how it is. Everyone looks around their workplace and is like, how the fuck are you still here? There's somebody definitely like that at SC, I'm sure. But yeah.
The manager of that area has got to be on top of everybody. Maybe they're too busy. Maybe they got too many people.
You got to talk to your sources and get them on it. Like, you got to work your sources for your benefit. You can't just come here and say, this is what people are telling me. You got to tell them what to like get on it. It sounds like they're pretty high up people that have some fucking pull, man.
Well, they have regular meetings on what the state is. And I'm just saying, it looks like, as far as the PU goes, it's going to be we're talking summer of 2023 is too soon. That's too soon. They'll still be trickling out the next novelty ship to keep you satisfied for 5 minutes.
What do you think it's going to look like? What do you think it's going to look like in 2023? What kind of novelty ship?
2020. Well, let's see. Can we at least get maybe the Cutlass Blue first? Can we get the Carrick out? Can we get a jump point? I mean, geez, 2023. That's so far down the line. I mean, God, I don't know. What about look at this? What about the Vandal side of the ships? All this whole list of Vandal ships they have coming that mirror the UEE. Like the Vandal version of the Idris series and the Vandal version of the Dog. I mean, there's a whole lot more ships coming, and a lot of them haven't even been started. The King ship, how long is that going to take to make from scratch? 2023 is nothing. We'll still be dead in the water in the summer of 2023.
Mark Joy's words. So, all right, Joy, we'll leave you there with that. I appreciate your call.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, I'd like to have you on more to hear some of your insights, since it's more unique.
I might be a little rough, rugged, and raw.
Hey,
but
that's all right.
I've been around long enough where you get to the end of your rope, and what can you say, Mike?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So, Joy, I hope to hear you again, man. Have a great one. That's a way to end a podcast right there. That's the way you end a podcast right there, with some the triple R. All right? Rough, rugged, and raw. So, guys, that's going to be it for today's episode. If you did enjoy it or you have any thoughts, let me know down below in the comments. Leave a like on the video, and do know that you can come on, like Joy just did, on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We usually start the show, and you can join our Discord. So the links for my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, and discord.gg/SaltEMike. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll catch you next time.